Hey, out there from the Badger Rock Kitchen. We're here for another one of our virtual cooking workshops. And this week we are featuring green cabbage, which if you planted your cabbage early in the season, you can get cabbage in the ground as early as April 15th. It's probably ready now. Ours is, we just harvested our whole 50-foot row of green cabbage. So if you need some green cabbage, come on out to our community markets. They're every other Sunday, 1 to 5. And we are going to show you how to make a really delicious and easy recipe using the green cabbage. We're going to make something called cabbage fried rice. So this is a vegetarian version of fried rice. And the ingredients in it are eggs. We have our green cabbage. We have fresh ginger that I already peeled from the store. We have 3 cloves of garlic, 1 yellow onion, a little salt, a little pepper. And then we're going to be cooking these in a combination of sesame oil and soy sauce over on the stovetop. We also are going to be putting white rice in there, and I'll tell you about that when we get closer to it. But the way to prepare this is to start with the eggs. So we're just going to crack 3 eggs. These are eggs from our Badger Rock hens. You know when you're using your own chicken's eggs exactly what's in them because you know what you're feeding your chickens. So these eggs, if you peek at the yolks, they're really dark and nice and delicious looking. Super, super good for you, these fresh, farm fresh eggs. So we're lucky to have those here, and we're going to just start by whisking up these eggs. If you want to add a touch of salt and a touch of pepper, and at this point you sure can. I'm going to add just a touch of salt. You can pop some black pepper in there too. And we're going to take this over to the stovetop, and we're actually going to pre-cook the eggs, scramble them, and then set them aside for the fried rice. So I'll show you that process. So if y'all want to pop on over here, this is sesame oil. This really is what gives fried rice its unique fried rice flavor. I love sesame oil so much. And we're going to total in this recipe use about 3 tablespoons. I'm just going to use 1 tablespoon to cook the eggs first off. So I'll get the stove going. So this is just simple as scrambling eggs, this step. So we're just going to let this oil heat up for a minute. And like I said, we also put soy sauce in this recipe. The soy sauce sesame oil combo is really special and goes with the fresh ginger in a way that really makes this dish what it is. So it's super, super delicious. Let me get this heating up a little bit. And then once your oil is hot, you're just going to pour your eggs on in there. And we're going to scramble them and set them aside. So I'm just going to grab a little plate for my finished eggs once they're done. And to scramble, I just kind of wait. We could have waited a little bit longer for the oil to get a little hotter. But you're just going to sort of pull the eggs from the outside of the pan in to do a scramble. So I'm just pulling these eggs in, keep them moving. If you leave it flat, you'll end up with like an omelet, which is also delicious. But for fried rice, we want to have it scrambled. Some people will throw their eggs in when they're mixing up the rice and the cabbage and all the ingredients together instead, but I find it easier to get the eggs cooked just ahead of time. And then you are just, you know your eggs are cooked through all the way, and you know they have the texture that you want, and they are good to go. Another trick with fried rice that I learned is that you should cook your rice ahead of time and then put it in the fridge or the freezer, because for fried rice to work really well, you want to make sure your rice is cold. So I cooked the rice ahead of time. In this pot over here, I made 3 cups of white rice. And the way to do that is I have 1.5 cups of dry white rice and then 3 cups of water. And you just turn it up until it boils. Then you turn it down to a simmer covered. And once that rice has absorbed all that water, turn it right off, stick it in the fridge. Or if you're limited on time, you can stick it in the freezer to cool it down quick enough for this recipe. So the eggs really give this recipe some protein without having meat in there. So you get protein and you get all the goodness from your vegetables in this dish. If you want to use brown rice instead of white rice, you sure can. It's got a little bit more nutritional value, that brown rice, but white rice is traditional for fried rice, so you can decide which one you want to make. White rice also cooks a lot quicker, so it's more of a 20-minute time commitment instead of like a 45 minutes or more time commitment for the brown rice to cook. And what white rice is, it's just brown rice with the hulls taken off. And the hulls are what has most of the nutrients in it in rice. So that's why, you know, people will suggest using brown rice instead of white rice for health reasons. So here we go. We got, look at that. They cook so fast. So we have our little scrambled eggs in here ready to go. I'm just going to break them up into small pieces so they can really work on through that fried rice once we get it all mixed together. And I'm going to just put these aside for the moment. And we're going to head back on over to our chopping station. Grab those little guys. All right. So now that we have our eggs cooked and they're just going to hang out on the side for a minute, I already pre-chopped my onion. Just dice it up. I have my 3 cloves of garlic. I'm just going to dice those up too. And this is like it's a delicious, healthy vegetarian dish as well. You can add chicken into fried rice. It's also yummy. But if you are looking to cut some of the meat out of your diet, you do not need the meat. And those eggs will give you the protein that you're looking for. So I'm just going to dice up this garlic. That's about 3 cloves worth. I'm going to put that over here with my onions. Then I'm going to take my fresh ginger and I'm actually going to grate it. You need about 2 teaspoons for this recipe, and we'll pop the recipe in the comments too at the end so that y'all can make it on your own if you want to try it at home. It's really good. My kids love it too. This is a dish that really makes cabbage delicious for everybody, including the kids who might not think they like cabbage. They'll be surprised if they try this dish. So here is our ginger. That's about 2 tablespoons. Some of the more super fibrous pieces I'll just put aside and put in the compost. And then we're going to just grate or shave our cabbage. So this is a little cabbage from our garden. I'm using this one because we're just making a demo size recipe. You really only need about 3 cups of cabbage. And you can either grate it with a cheese grater or you can kind of shred it with a knife like this. I prefer to shred it just because sometimes when you grate it, it gets almost too small. It kind of smushes up the cabbage and you end up with tiny little smushed cabbage pieces and a lot of water. So I usually just go for the knife. And I did cut out the core of the cabbage right here. You don't want to use that part. So 3 cups. And cabbage, you know, cabbage fluffs up a lot. This could be almost 3 cups right here, just half of this little tiny cabbage. And I'm just going to cut it into a little bit smaller pieces just because I like when I take a bite to have a bite-sized piece. So this looks like it could be almost 3 cups already right here. I'll do a little bit more. So we plant our cabbages as we start them in our greenhouse in March, and we usually plant them out in the garden. The earliest we get them out there is the middle of April. And around this time of year when you're harvesting your first cabbage from the garden, about mid-July, is also a great time to plant new cabbage seedlings for a fall harvest. So the ones you plant now, they'll take about, so we plant them in August. It's May, June, July, so it's been about 3 months they've been in the ground. So if you plant them cabbages now in mid-July, they'll be ready in October. And cabbages are really, really cold hardy, so they can take a frost. So even if a frost happens before you're ready to harvest your cabbage, that's okay. They're cold hardy like kale and like collard greens, and they'll actually get sweeter with a frost. So some people even wait to harvest them until after a frost on purpose. All right, come on over and we're going to cook these up. So I'm going to take the other 2 tablespoons of sesame oil and put that in here. Sesame oil, a little goes a long way, so don't go too crazy with the sesame oil because it might be a little overwhelming. Turn this back on again, and I'm gonna first just cook the onions and the garlic. Get those going. Right. I'm gonna put my ginger aside. I'm gonna add that in when I add the eggs in. And we'll add the soy sauce in at the time we add the eggs in too. So just get this cooking. And you just want to cook your onions until they're see-through, till they're translucent and a little bit soft. That will be perfect. And onions are another thing. If you planted them in mid-April, which is about the earliest you can get onions in the ground here in Madison, Wisconsin, they're probably about ready to harvest about now. And they are another crop that if you pick them now, pull them out now, you can get a second crop in. If you pop them in the ground now, they should be ready in the fall. So these are great early season crops and also mid-season crops for a fall harvest. And if you have chickens, you know they're just rocking and rolling right now. Most hens during the growing season are laying 1 egg a day. So that's a lot of eggs. If you have the city allows us to have 8 hens at a time if you're a resident, if you have a residential setup. And so 8 chickens a day, that's 8 eggs a day if they're at their maximum laying. It's a lot of eggs. So having some recipes to use those up is always a good thing too. Ooh, it smells good. That sesame oil is so delicious. All right. And I'm just going to throw this cabbage in here to get this cooking as well. If you have a wok, this is a great recipe to make in a wok. One of those long, kind of wide bowl-shaped saute pans. It's great because you can really move stuff around in there really easily. And that's a great tool for making fried rice if you end up making a lot of it. You might want to invest in one of those, a wok. And you're just going to cook this. Cabbage cooks pretty quickly. I'd say about 5 minutes with the cabbage. And just cooking until the onions are nice and soft. And while these are cooking, we're going to let you all go for a minute, and we will tune you back in when we're ready for the next step. See you in a sec. All right, here we are with our cabbage and onions nice and soft. If you check this out, they're nice and wilted down. The onions are nice and see-through. This is ready to go. So the next step is to add some soy sauce. So I'm going to add 3 tablespoons of soy sauce. You can adjust the soy sauce to your taste, and actually you can adjust the sesame oil to your taste. And honestly, anything you can adjust to your taste. But we're going to start with 3 tablespoons of soy sauce. You can also just have this on the table for people to add to their own if they feel like it needs a little more something. So I'm mixing that soy sauce in. So now we have soy sauce and sesame oil, cabbage, garlic, and onions in here. Sometimes I'll put a green pepper in here too and cook it with the cabbage at this point. Mix that all in there. And next up, we're going to put the eggs and the ginger that we grated. So I'll throw those in there. Get that egg broken up so it's all mixed throughout the dish. And then I'm going to put 2 cups of rice. This is also a great recipe if you have leftover rice from another meal that you made more rice than you used, and you can just throw it in the fridge and use your leftover rice to make a fried rice. So that's about a cup. Put about 2 cups in here. Ish. Doesn't have to be exact. Put that in there. Mix it up. And really, you can play with these recipes and try different things, try adding different things. Sometimes I'll put carrots in my fried rice too, grated carrots. It's good. The more colors in your meal, the more nutrients in there. So getting some of that orange goodness in there is not a Not a bad idea, and it goes really well. Carrots go really well with this too. And I'm just going to mix this rice on through. Like I said, some people will add the eggs and scramble them at this point with the rice and the other ingredients too. But if you want to make sure your eggs are cooked all the way through, you can cook them ahead of time like we did. And then you just mix it up. You can add some red pepper flakes too. I often will add some red pepper flakes at the end just to give it a little kick. Mix it on up. Make sure all your rice is coated in the delicious sauce that you made with the soy sauce and the sesame oil. And there you have it, y'all. Cabbage fried rice. A delicious and really fast meal to add to your menu. It does not have a lot of ingredients. Easy, quick, delicious, nutritious. Doesn't get much better than that. All right, thank y'all for tuning in, and yeah, I hope you enjoy your cabbage fried rice. If you have another version of this recipe that you like, please share it with us. We love trying new recipes, both with ourselves and our own families, but also with the kids that we teach every day at Badger Rock. Thanks everyone for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.